welcome to Seekers of Meaning, the podcast TV arm of Jewish Sacred Aging. I'm very, very happy to have you, and we thank you for your time. And we welcome you here to what I hope and I'm sure will be a very, very exciting conversation. As you know, our Seekers of Meaning podcast focus a lot on the impact of longevity on our community, our families, and ourselves. And we are very, very pleased to welcome to the microphone for this particular edition of Seekers of Meaning, Randi Freeman, the Greater Philadelphia Hadassah Regional Coordinator. And we invited Randi to talk a little bit about, well, not a little bit, but a lot about Hadassah, what it is. It's known to many of our generation, but perhaps not as much to other generations. It is a historic movement that does tremendous work, not only here, but around the world. So, Randi, thank you for joining us. Welcome. It's very, very nice to see you. I hope you're well.
Thank you so much, Rabbi, for having me. Yes, like you said, Hadassah used to be the grandmother's organization. We were actually founded in 1912 by Henrietta Zold, who had a vision, and her vision has created 2 hospitals in Jerusalem. We are the only United States owned and run hospital system in Israel. It's a volunteer-led organization. We have approximately 300,000 volunteers throughout the United States, as well as we have about 25,000 men, because it's nice for a woman to have support in her work of volunteering. And Henrietta Zold also, during 1912, 1914, she began needing nurses, and the nursing school was created, as well as health clinics in Jerusalem, and then mother centers for the milking and to provide for the mothers. And that is actually still functioning today. But as our hospitals have become a beacon for excellence throughout the world, we have been rated number one we're actually up for a Nobel Peace Prize a few years ago, because we serve everyone. Within our hospitals, diversity is in bold letters, because it does not matter who you are, but we are there to take care of you from a medical standpoint. And we also have Youth Aliyah, which we still run to Mer Shveya and the Hadassah Nareem Youth Village. And that was a vision of Henrietta Zold's in 1933, really removing children out of Nazi Germany. And she was able to save over 1,000 children. And, through her work, that has continued, that we help truant kids. We help children through war, like for Ukraine. We brought children to stay on our village. They are educated. They are given responsibility. We have farming and different things for them. And then many of them graduate and go into the IDF and lead full lives. So, the research that comes out of our hospital, 50% of all grant money that is given out in the state of Israel is given to Hadassah Medical Organization, because we deliver results. And the international contingency that we do have, that is not volunteer, but they are entrepreneurs that want to help to make a difference in what we do. And unfortunately, because of October 7th, coming out of the war, Hadassah answered, and we opened a state-of-the-art rehabilitation center on our Mount Scopus campus. And that is the Gandel Rehabilitation Center, which can hold 230 plus patients. And I visited. It is an absolute incredible environment. And our patients, so often they don't want to leave because of the care that is received. So it is an unbelievable legacy. And Henrietta Zold used to say, "Make my eyes look to the future," and what a future she created.
Well, it's a fascinating story. Again, with one person's vision, one person's dream, that it becomes a reality that has literally, this is not a rabbinic exaggeration, but saved dozens, hundreds, thousands of lives, and put those and other lives back together. And I think it's important for people to understand one of the things you said the diversity, the welcoming, the big tent of the hospitals. Where the two hospitals in Israel are where?
They're both in Jerusalem. One is on Mount Scopus, literally on Mount Scopus, and Ein Kerem is in the center of Jerusalem.
Since you raised it, I got to ask you this question because people, when you talk about Israel right now, this question always comes up. How has the work of Hadassah in Israel been impacted by October 7th and the war?
Well, they went right to work. And, within hours of hearing, like with October 7th, staff immediately came running to the hospital. We opened up emergency places because we had to take care of patients. There was a parking garage, and that was converted within hours to be for emergency medicine, to open up a second ER. And, fortunately, our hospitals have dealt with trauma because of living in Israel with suicide bombers and all of the terroristic attacks over the years. But what really touched me, being that I am a nurse manager within mental health, is that Hadassah immediately opened up a mental health ER, because you cannot even imagine the trauma that all of our staff, Israel's only the size of New Jersey. So when you think about that, every one of our staff either knew personally or, within a couple people, someone who was taken hostage, or someone who was killed.
Right.
And then many of the staff got called up immediately within the IDF. So things changed and it was all hands on deck. And our staff, the head of our hospital, Professor Yoram Weiss, they come immediately, right? It's the cohesiveness, and they were on the phone with United States. Whatever is needed was done. All the things went into effect very quickly that we need to get the rehabilitation center when it recognized, like, this is something that's going to be needed. But the trauma alone, and we have on our staff amazing people that, their part-time job is they're out in the field, and they were, air vacuuming trauma victims to our hospital. Everybody was no problem. The willingness to help another individual in our hospital is huge. And I've had the honor of meeting some of our grateful patients, and they said, thank God I went to Hadassah, because they knew, like, then they had a chance at life.
Randy, what has this meant to you as somebody who is working in the health field? But how has this changed your soul?
I had never been to Israel until I was 42. And, I had been in Hadassah and I went on a mission. And when I went within our hospital, it made me think that we are the Disney of medicine, because miracles happen here every day. And it makes me so proud to see and meet the patients. I'm from the United States. I go to Israel and they roll the red carpet because I'm a Hadassah member, because everything that has been provided to those people in the hospital, they know has come from the women in the United States who have worked tirelessly for years, and there's just a wonderful feeling. We reacted immediately. We have 4 floors underground that when I visited years ago and I saw they have 4 floors underground, and you don't think much of that. Then October 7th hit, and all of a sudden, we flipped the switch, and now your most critical patients are being transported from up here now to 3 floors underground. With the war with Iran, immediately, gigantic steel plates were put all around our entire hospital to keep the patients safe. For me, being a nurse, I was blown away by, you go to the ER and you talk to the ER staff and you say, oh, what's your ratio for patients? Because that's something you hear in the United States a lot. Oh, the nurse can only have X amount of patients. And when you hear, oh, I had, 15 patients, and you're just like, what? And they line up beds, head to foot, and it goes around the entire ER. It's just unbelievable. And you don't hear any complaints. The staff is just, they love what they do, and that resonates. So it's just, I feel very proud. I feel very proud for the work that we do. not only medical, but the research. I mean, we're working to eradicate things like Parkinson's, MS, things that have been plaguing people for so long. The medical breakthroughs that come out of the Hadassah hospital that we see, it's a shame they're not always shared as much with the United States as they need to be. And I think that's what, trying to get younger voices in, we've done a lot now in the United States with advocacy and using our voice to stand up for United States and Israel relations, right? Because that's something that is, a lot of tension for many people. And unfortunately, there's a lot of Jewish people who are torn with that. And when we say we are the Women's Zionist Organization of America, some people are turned off when they hear Zionist. But if you have any love for Israel or believe that Israel should exist, you're Zionist, right? Like that Israel, we go hand in hand. But I feel very proud. I feel very, very proud. And when I go to our hospitals, it just like bubbles over,
Obviously, this has been a life-changing event for you, this involvement. And I'm glad you mentioned the research and development. I remember when I was younger, you would read about the R&D stuff coming out of Hadassah hospitals and how important it was and how, in many ways, frontier, if that's the right word, frontier medicine. Yeah. But I want to also ask you, because you alluded to this, the word Zionism now is become totally politicized.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
As you know, and in Congress, we're literally watching news reports about the, in many ways, generational shift and attitudinal shift on the part of some senators and representatives about funding aid to Israel, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How are you as an organization, nationally and locally, dealing with what is very, very palpable right now in society?
Hadassah women are known for getting the job done. And I will tell you that our national president, Carol Ann Schwartz, our CEO, Ellen Finkelstein, they are known in Washington. They are respected. That there was a very large meeting for nonprofits. And, they walk in and they asked where do we go? You're Hadassah, you're in the front row, because Hadassah is front and center. I mean, we had an end of silence campaign coming out of October 7th because of the horrible crimes that Hamas was committing against women, the sexual acts. And Hadassah women, I mean, we get policies. Hamas is being held accountable. And finally at the UN that was, achieved, but we don't stop until we get the answer that we want. Recently in March, about 200 of us attended Day on the Hill. We went to Washington and we were split up, and we got to meet with many House of Representatives, many senators and congressmen to talk about the importance of strengthening that Israel-United States bond and maintaining that. The whole, rise in anti-Semitism. I don't remember in the 70s and different things with anti-Semitism. Now, October 7th opened the door for that hate to come out. I think the hate was always here, but right. It was, just under wraps, and we need to stand up to that. And Hadassah women are front and center in standing up and getting bills and putting bills together to stand up to protect our kids on college campuses, about teaching the Holocaust in schools and doing what we can to ensure a future not only for Israel, but for the Jewish people. But that is very, very important. And I think that's been very engaging for younger people, because the dynamic of how we did fundraising years ago, when I meet young people, they'll say, oh, my grandmom was in Hadassah. And I said, do I look like your grandmom? So younger people are very encouraged about use your voice. Use your voice to stand up and make a difference. And collectively, with thousands behind you, it becomes that momentum. So younger people, I feel, are very engaged by that because we're empowering younger people, and I think the next generation of Hadassah will look very different than where we've been.
How are you recruiting the 20, 30, and 40-year-old women?
We have a program called Evolve, and what it is they apply, and we have cohorts. We get about 15 to 25 in a cohort. I believe right now we're up to the 4th cohort program. And that is our only current leadership pipeline, so to speak. Like, we are really developing and cultivating someone who has an interest, and we're going to give them the tools to be successful. And we see this across the whole United States. I mean, obviously, I feel like, some areas do better with engaging younger people. But, Florida, for instance, right? Everyone retires to Florida. So you're not going to probably find 30-year-old as much as you are in Chicago, California. And we've seen great success in, really starting to grow the seeds for the future, because years ago it was always about membership. You join a local chapter. We have chapters within Philadelphia, but the younger people don't really want to be put in that same box. And the way younger people, their priorities are very different than our current, let's say, 60-year-old. And years ago, women had children and they wanted to meet other like-minded Jewish women. And that's how many of them met. Oh, I have a Hadassah chapter in my neighborhood. Someone got them in. Younger people aren't interested in that. They work. They have other things going on. Everything's very fast-paced now. And with, the cell phone and the computers and texting and all the instant, everything is instant gratification. So, we engage the younger people, and then they want different types of activity. And it's not as much of membership as it is community. And we're trying to develop these evolved communities throughout the United States as a way to really plant the seeds for them. They will then, when they do have the means and the time, then that interest will even be greater.
So we're talking with Randi Freeman, Greater Philadelphia Hadassah Regional Coordinator, really trying to examine the changes and the evolution of Hadassah, and now well over 100 years old, and its involvement not only in Israel, but as Randi is talking about, also in the United States. You're talking about the fast pace. If somebody's listening or somebody's watching, say, I really like to get some more information, what's the website that they can go to?
Hadassah.org.
Spell it.
HADASSAH.org. There's all kinds of videos on there, all kinds of information. You can reach out to representatives that work. Our home base is in New York. You can be connected with the chapter anywhere that you live within the United States, and we will graciously welcome you, into our organization.
Social media. I mean, if you're under whatever age, you live and die on social media. So I would assume from what you're saying that Hadassah now has a large presence on social media, correct?
Yes, we are definitely on all of the social platforms. You can check us out on Facebook. They regularly post, especially, we have an action center online that you can go and you can write to your senator on the different issues that we have posted, and you can automatically be connected. We have this incredible magazine, Hadassah magazine, which is, I don't think I've ever read a magazine that is so comprehensive with the amount of high level articles that are placed in that. And a yearly membership is only $36. Only $36, which is nothing. When you break that down over the course of a year, you can't even get a cup of coffee per day, right?
Yeah, it's just a couple of gallons.
Right? I can't even fill my tank on $36, right? So, but for $36, you gain membership to this amazing organization, plus you get the magazine for free. We have podcasts on so many topics, especially women's health and things really that are of interest. We do a lot of live interviewing with authors. We are having our conference, God willing, in October in Israel. And that is always a wonderful time because we really just go, and just to visit the hospital in itself, it's amazing.
You mentioned advocacy. I want to just say, because you just touched on something there. How involved is Hadassah on women's advocacy? You mentioned women's health, but I would imagine that you were somewhat involved with the whole Roe v. Wade issue, the abortion issue, because it does impact women's
Yeah.
health, women's choice. Talk to me a little bit about that advocacy program.
We have a whole advocacy department that works, and they devised bills that we then took out and we contacted across the United States to stand up again any opportunity that we could. We also do, since the land of Zoom started, we actually had the opportunity to virtually meet, and we have been doing so quite frequently just to get that message out. And when, we had legislation that needed to be passed in the different bills, but we like to educate the lawmakers as well. So, it's a shared democratic value. We are bipartisan, 100% bipartisan, and that's very important. We walk down the middle of the line, and when something is right, then we stand up for that, and irregardless of where you sit. The women's health research funding, the global health funding, as well as healthcare equity has been really top focus, and something that even when we met in March, we came with our agenda, and we always come with our agenda and really ask, can we get your support? And then we follow up. We don't just say, they're not just going to say, oh, Hadassah was here and then they left. You'll be hearing back from us. And, after a month, okay, here, let's send these back out. And any opportunity that we have, we really, go to work, write the bill, and then get support so that we can get things passed.
The fundraising aspect, because that's really at the heart
Yeah.
Of what happens at Hadassah here in the United States. It's a $36 to join a local chapter.
Yes.
And I can find out those local chapters by going to the website, hadassah.org. Walk me through some of the other ways that you fundraise.
Well, each region, we have events, different events. And again, years ago, it looked very different. They might have a speaker. They might have a game day, and it's not a cookie cutter. And so throughout the United States, it was, oh, my chapter likes this. I know a chapter in Philadelphia. They run Broadway shows because they have 54 people that will immediately give a lot of money to get on a bus. They want to be entertained. But then I have another group that they want to bring speakers to be educated. So, and we're really trying to move toward donors and to really cultivate our donors because, I remember years ago meeting somebody and saying, oh, well, we have this project or this project. And they said to me, all you had to do was ask me. So I try to hold conversation with anyone I meet about the wonders of Hadassah and what we do from the medical standpoint, from helping children. And often you'll run into somebody that says, oh, well, can I give? The war effort. I mean, I was with a group of people and I was telling them about, how we turned the hospital immediately, closed the top, went to the bottom. Somebody hands me $1,000 check and so it looks different depending on where you are in the United States, but we just had a very large education day here in Philadelphia from the region. And the focus this year was on mental wellness, and it was trauma and resilience, because coming out of October 7th, the Jewish people, Israel alone is the resilience of the Israeli people just blows me away. To live in an environment that you are attacked, and they've been attacked for many, many years is, but to the magnitude, and they come in and out of the bomb shelter, right? How many times a day? And you say, oh my God, my nerves would never take that. I don't know how could I live like that? We have no idea here, but the resilience, and then with anti-Semitism, trauma affects each one of us differently. And it was amazing to me that how many people came up to me after Education Day. I had a moderated panel discussion with a psychologist and a mental health nurse practitioner. And they said, today was amazing. I felt like you were talking to me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, that was the intent, right? Because we all have problems. We all have issues. You can't just all put it in a box, but we need to address it as a community and say it's okay to stand up as a Jew. Hadassah was helping with that. And, I've been doing more this year, especially sending out every 2 weeks a mental health message, because people need to stop and breathe. And anxiety is okay as long as it's not affecting your daily life. The bear in the woods, right? If you see a bear in the woods, you best run, and it's okay to run, right? But we're living in very challenging times, so that is important that we communicate and share with each other. And that's what we're trying to do here in Philadelphia.
There may be a young woman listening or watching this because she heard about Hadassah. What piece of advice would you want to send out to these individuals based upon what your experience?
I would say that this is no longer your grandmother's organization. We need you to move us into the future. The future will look different, and you will help us pave that way. But with you, we can continue to provide medical miracles, provide the excellent care, take care of these youth that so need us, and use our voice to help make a difference and a change, and to keep us going for many, many years to come.
Randi Freeman, the Greater Philadelphia Hadassah Regional Coordinator, thank you very much for really educating us, but also for your passion. Obviously, this is something that's in your neshama, in your soul.
Yeah.
And it is not just a volunteer. It's your life.
It's my full-time volunteer job.
Well,
I thank you so much for asking me.
No, this is, people need to know, because a lot of times the good gets blown off the front pages and the media for the sensational. And like you say, every single day, people go to those hospitals, they save lives, regardless of who they are. Because I know, and like you said, they could be Israeli, they could be Palestinian, they're human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, they're really operating on the highest level of Jewish tradition and moral values. So thank you for what you do, for the awareness that you bring, for the advocacy that you sponsor, for the money you raise to make those miracles happen. And we wish you continued, first of all, health and continued success. Stay healthy and keep fighting.
Thank you so much, Rabbi.
To all of you, thank you very, very much for joining us on today's edition of Seekers of Meaning, the podcast TV arm of Jewish Sacred Aging. We are very grateful for your time. If you have a suggestion or comment, email me at rabbiaddress@jewishsacredaging.com. You can visit the website, conveniently named jewishsacredaging.com. There's a very, very conveniently located button on that website, that homepage. And if you'd like to support these podcasts and our work, just click on that button, follow the prompts. If you'd like to become a sponsor of some of these podcasts, get your word out around the country, please just email me. We'll take it from there. Seekers of Meaning is produced at the studios of Lubeck and Media, and a shout out to our producer, Steve Lubeck, and thank you very, very much, the tech genius who guides us. To all of you, until we see each other again on the next edition of Seekers of Meaning, take care of yourself, stay healthy, but most of all, be kind to one another. Shalom.